I'm telling you from 70 years of experience, don't listen to them.
Yeah. Listen to yourself.
Yeah.
It's a gift. It's an opportunity, and most importantly, it's a gift. Obviously, everybody here is talented enough to do that, but don't get it twisted.
I always looked for that, for lack of a better word, angle. What's the story? That's the only thing I wrote on the...
Everybody praises him, but Denzel Washington runs Hollywood by a very different code. He doesn't chase fame, he doesn't cling to friendships, and when someone steps over his line, he doesn't argue, he just erases them. Today, you'll see the 6 actors who found themselves quietly cut off after clashing with the way he works. Some of them thought they impressed him. Others thought they were joking around. But each one misread him, and his silence said it all. These are the names that disappeared from his orbit, and the reasons why. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Number 1. Chris Pratt's humor versus Denzel's discipline. Chris Pratt thought his humor could carry over to every set, tossing jokes and playful lines in between takes. But it didn't land with Denzel Washington. Pratt has always been the guy who brings laughs behind the scenes, someone who makes the crew feel relaxed and keeps energy light, especially in the massive world of Marvel movies where that kind of looseness works almost like fuel. On The Magnificent Seven, though, that same style ran into a wall. Denzel wasn't there for banter. He wanted order. Scripts followed to the letter. A total focus on what the director needed. The clash wasn't explosive, but people watching could feel it. Pratt's habit of cracking jokes mid-scene or rewriting lines with improvisation gave a fun rhythm for him, but Denzel saw wasted motion. He's known for treating filmmaking like a soldier treats a mission. Nothing casual, everything precise. When you approach a scene like combat, a sudden joke isn't just distracting, it's disrespectful to the process. Pratt wasn't being malicious, but that looseness broke the discipline Washington demanded. When promotion started, fans expected to see the 2 actors laughing together, maybe sharing warm stories about bonding on set. Instead, Denzel avoided drawing any spotlight toward Pratt and kept redirecting credit to Antoine Fuqua, the director. That kind of sidestep told fans everything. Washington wasn't impressed. If Pratt believed light-hearted humor would strengthen the chemistry, Washington treated it like background noise that didn't belong. And while that may sound stiff, the next clash came from someone who went in the opposite direction and forced intensity into every single moment. Number 2, Jared Leto's method acting gone too far. Jared Leto has always had a reputation for taking things too far with method acting. He stays in character on and off set, sometimes for months, and it's made headlines before. Stories about him sending odd gifts to cast members or refusing to answer to his real name became part of his image. For some actors, that level of immersion earns respect. For Denzel Washington, though, it looked more like a performance behind the performance. When they worked together on The Little Things, people expected 2 talents pushing each other to new heights. Instead, insiders noticed Leto kept his distance, wandering around the set as if his character had taken over completely. To others, it looked eerie, but to Washington, it crossed a line. Denzel has built his career on showing up fully prepared, delivering truth in the moment, and then leaving ego at the door. Watching another actor turn every off-camera interaction into theater wasn't discipline to him. It was a distraction from the work everyone else needed to focus on. One person close to Washington's circle even described it bluntly. That's not commitment. That's ego in costume. The message was clear. Fans later noticed something strange during the press tour. Leto went out of his way to compliment Washington in interviews, calling him a giant of the craft. And yet, Washington never sent that praise back. No joint press stops, no friendly back and forth, nothing. Instead, silence filled the space. Silence was the message. And if Leto's over-intensity left Denzel cold, the next actor earned that same dismissal by taking the opposite approach. Number 3. Ethan Hawke's loose style. Everyone remembers Training Day as a landmark film, with Denzel taking home the Oscar and Ethan Hawke earning his first nomination. On screen, their chemistry felt explosive, but insiders claim that off-camera their approaches couldn't have been more different. Hawke came from the indie world, bringing a laid-back, natural style. He liked feeling out a scene, letting the emotions drift in real time. Washington, on the other hand, arrived at set fully rehearsed, with every beat mapped out. To him, there was no room for guesswork, no space for drifting through a performance. That difference shaped how they saw each other. Fans at the time thought they were watching the start of a Hollywood mentorship. Hawke was just in his early 30s, standing beside a legendary figure who had already mastered the craft. The story going around was that Denzel would nurture him, maybe even pull him into more big projects. But according to people who saw them work, the creative tension wasn't staged. Denzel wasn't mentoring, he was holding a line. After the movie came out, Hawke praised him again and again, speaking about his generosity and incredible power as a co-star. Washington's response was short, almost dismissive. He simply said, "We already did something good." That distance told the whole story. Despite Hawke's Oscar nomination fueling an image of mutual admiration, Washington never stood beside him again, never endorsed his success, and never reunited on screen. Number 4. Mark Wahlberg's casual vibes. With Two Guns, audiences thought they were watching an effortless partnership between Mark Wahlberg and Denzel Washington. On screen, the banter felt natural, the kind of chemistry studios dream of when pairing two big names. But away from the cameras, the smooth camaraderie wasn't there. Wahlberg carried his trademark style, the same easygoing energy he's brought to dozens of sets, where he often jokes with the crew and plays fast and loose with lines. That works for him in comedies or action films built on improvisation, but Washington saw the looseness as a lack of discipline. During production, Wahlberg mingled freely, chatting with stunt doubles, cracking jokes with the sound team, moving from one corner of the set to another like he owned the room. Meanwhile, Washington stayed fixed in his space, quietly rehearsing under his breath, repeating lines until they sounded carved in stone. Insiders shaded the contrast perfectly. Denzel doesn't move like that. He's locked in. That wasn't an insult, it was just a reality. They lived in two different rhythms. Wahlberg thrived in chaos. Washington thrived in order. When press tours rolled around, fans expected glowing praise. With Wahlberg's charm, reporters thought Washington might highlight their buddy dynamic, but interviews told a different story. Washington hardly mentioned him, instead steering answers back to the director or the architecture of the film itself. Wahlberg, despite carrying co-star status, failed to earn a public cosign. Number 5. Tyrese Gibson's torch request. Tyrese Gibson openly went on record saying he wanted Denzel Washington to guide him, even calling out that Washington wasn't passing the torch to younger black actors. It wasn't a private disappointment, it was public, and fans couldn't ignore it. Gibson framed it as a question of legacy, as if Washington had a responsibility to make space for others who came after him. That bold approach, saying what many others would only whisper, instantly created tension in the conversation about mentorship in Hollywood. Unlike co-stars who clashed over acting styles or set behavior, this situation didn't play out on a movie set. It lived in interviews and headlines. Gibson suggested that doors were closed to him, that moments where he had hoped for guidance never came. According to him, Washington simply wasn't available, and that built into a narrative of being shut out. To some fans, it sounded like Gibson wanted recognition, maybe even endorsement, and he grew frustrated when none arrived. Washington, true to his way of handling conflict, never responded. He didn't argue, he didn't post, he didn't send out clarifications to smooth things over. He just stayed silent. That silence made people watch even closer, expecting him to eventually break his pattern. But he never did. Instead, Gibson stayed outside his orbit, even as projects Washington was attached to moved forward without overlap. Number 6. Russell Crowe's push for control. American Gangster looked like a dream project. Two major stars, both in their prime, working together under the direction of Ridley Scott. On camera, Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe delivered exactly what fans wanted. Intensity, chemistry, and a clash of personalities that powered the story. But off-camera, things weren't as smooth. Crowe has a long-standing reputation for pushing his creative input, speaking up on how a scene should play out, and sometimes even weighing in on edits. That's how he operates, and plenty of directors have learned to deal with it. Washington, on the other hand, doesn't play games with that system. He thrives in strict loyalty to the director's vision and the structure of the production. When a co-star starts acting like a second director, it immediately cuts against the discipline Washington believes in. The set of American Gangster wasn't described as chaotic, but the balance of power was noticeable. Denzel Washington has shown the same pattern for decades. He doesn't blow up in interviews or trade insults on social media. He rarely even acknowledges drama. Instead, the people who cross his line simply vanish from his circle. They might promote the film, praise him in the press, or express hope for another project. But Washington never takes the bait. This isn't about ego or personal grudges. It's about the discipline he demands from himself and everyone around him. In Hollywood, silence can sometimes hurt more than open conflict. And Denzel's silence has become his sharpest and quietest weapon.